Good morning, students. Myself, Major Komal Katyal, Department of Zoology, GK Gowani Government College, Bhinman. Today, we will discuss about coelom. आज हम बात करेंगे देह गुहा के बारे में. Now, the development in classification. What do you mean by the animal embryos and the germ layers? In the case of animal embryos, they form germ layers, embryonic tissues including ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. These are the three germ layers. The ectoderm develops into the epidermis, which is the outermost covering. Mesoderm develops into muscles, mesentery and other organs between digestive tube and outer covering. Endoderm lines the digestive tube and organs that come from it. In the case of diploblastic animal, di means two and diploblastic means those animals in which there are only two germ layers, one the ectoderm and other one is the endoderm, and the third layer, that is mesoderm, is absent, and instead of mesoderm they have a gelatinous mesoglia, as in the case of jellyfishes. In the case of triploblastic animals, they have three germ layers as we have discussed just, that is ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm, as in the case of higher non-chordates and in the case of most vertebrates. The diploblastic organization has two embryonic tissue layers, one the ectoderm, which gives rise to the epidermis, and it is the outermost layer of the body wall, while the endoderm gives rise to the gastrodermis, the tissue that lines the gut cavity. Mesoglia, as I told you just, in the case of jellyfishes, it is the middle layer between the epidermis and the gastrodermis, and it comes from ectoderm or endoderm. As you can see here in this, there is presence of ectoderm with the blue color, endoderm with the yellow color, and mesoglia, that is the cementing part between the ecto and the endoderm. Now let us discuss about the triploblastic organization. अब हम बात करते हैं उन जंतुओं की जो त्रिजन स्तरीय होते हैं. अभी हमने बात की थी उन जंतुओं की जो द्विजन स्तरीय होते थे. In the case of triploblastic animals, there is presence of the third embryonic layer and it is known as mesoderm. It is present between ectoderm and endoderm and it develops independently. It gives rise to supportive, contractile and blood cells. Most animals have an organ system level of organization and they are usually bilaterally symmetrical and are relatively active. Now about the body cavity or the coelom. We have divided into groups on the basis of presence or absence of the body cavity, that is the presence or absence of the coelom. Body cavity is a fluid filled space that can suspend and separate the internal organs from the body wall. देह गुहा क्या होती है? एक तरल द्वारा भरी गई जगह होती है जिसके अंदर आंतरिक अंग पाए जाते हैं और ये आंतरिक अंग को जो शरीर की देह भित्ति है उससे अलग करती है. Now what are the advantages of a body cavity? There are so many advantages of a body cavity. It gives more space or more room for the organ development. अंग निर्माण के लिए या अंग विकास के लिए ये एक अधिक जगह देती है. It gives more surface area for the diffusion of gases, nutrients and waste into and out of the organs. It gives an area for the storage. It acts as a hydrostatic skeleton, as it is just like a water-filled balloon, as we can see in the case of earthworm. It is also a way to eliminate the waste products. In certain animals, this coelomic fluid is connected directly with the nephridopore, the external opening, and with the help of this they can remove the nitrogenous waste material. It also facilitates to increase the body size. Now let us discuss about the various plants of the triploblastic animals. There are three possible plants: the acoelomate, the pseudocoelomate and the eucoelomate or the coelomate. तीन तरह के शारीरिक संगठन हो सकते हैं देह गुहा के आधार पर। एक वह जंतु जिनके अंदर देह गुहा अनुपस्थित होती है, दूसरे वह जंतु जिनके अंदर देह गुहा उपस्थित होती है पर वो वास्तविक देह गुहा नहीं होती, कूट देह गुहा होती है, और तीसरे वह जंतु जिनके अंदर वास्तविक देह गुहा पाई जाती है। In the case of acoelomate animals, we can take the example of flatworms, which comes under the phylum Platyhelminthes. You can easily observe the presence of three germ layers, the ecto, meso and endoderm, and there is a digestive cavity. In the case of pseudocoelomate, we can take the example of nematodes, the roundworms, where there is presence of a pseudocoelom. It is lined on the outer side with mesoderm and internally by endoderm, so hence it is pseudocoelom. And third, the coelomate, the higher non-chordates and most chordates, in which there is presence of ecto, endo and mesoderm, and the cavity between the two mesoderm is known as the coelom or true coelom. The examples are mollusks, annelids, arthropods, echinoderms and all chordates. Now let us discuss about the body cavity's development. It is a fluid filled space separating the digestive tract from the outer body wall. It cushions the internal organ, allows internal organs to move independently of the outer body wall, and as I told you in the previous slide, it acts as a hydroskeleton in some animals, as in the case of annelid earthworm. So animal without coelom, acoelomate, with true coelom are the coelomates, and with a false coelom is a pseudocoelomate. Now let us discuss each group. First, the acoelomata. There is relatively solid mass of cells between ectoderm and endoderm. As you can see, there are two examples here. In one, the diploblastic acoelomate, which belongs to phylum Cnidaria or coelenterate, where you can see the gut, there is presence of an endoderm, light or purple colored, and light blue colored ectoderm, and there is no mesoderm. In the case of Platyhelminthes, which is a triploblastic acoelomate animal, presence of gut depicted here with a black color, light purple color is the endoderm and dark purple is the mesoderm, and there is an ectoderm, and you can observe there is no body cavity or coelom. This is the example. So acoelomates such as flatworm lack a body cavity between the digestive tract and the outer body wall. In the pseudocoelomate, the body cavity is not entirely lined by the mesoderm. It means there is presence of a layer on the outer side is the mesoderm and on inner side the endoderm. So the body cavity is not completely lined by the mesoderm. Hence it is known as a pseudocoelom or false cavity. As you can see in the case of Ascaris, the pseudocoelomates, or a common example shown here, the nematodes have a body cavity only partially lined by the tissue derived from the mesoderm. You can see there is presence of the body covering from ectoderm, then muscle layer from mesoderm, and digestive tract which develops from the endoderm. Here it is mentioned as ectoderm, which is false. It develops from the endoderm. Coelom is a body cavity completely surrounded by mesoderm. वास्तविक देह गुहा वह होती है जो चारों तरफ से mesoderm द्वारा आश्रित होती है. The thin mesodermal sheet called mesenteries line the visceral organ. जो आंतरांग है, आंतरांग में चारों तरफ एक पतली झिल्ली नुमा होती है जिसको अपन क्या बोलते हैं, mesentery बोलते हैं. Now let us take the example of triploblastic coelomate. The example are echinoderm and mollusk here. You can see the mesoderm which is splitted by coelom. There is ectoderm, mesoderm, presence of a coelom, then there is innermost mesoderm. So on both the side mesoderm is present surrounding the coelom. The presence of a gut, and gut is surrounded by the endoderm. As you can see in this case, the annelid, the digestive tract in the center, surrounded by the endoderm, and then the presence of the body covering on the outermost side, the cavity which is lining of coelom derived from the mesoderm, in which the animal's body organs or the internal organs are suspended. Now this is the summary of what we have just discussed. First, the coelomate, the example of earthworm. Second, the pseudocoelomate, example is ascaris. And the third one, the acoelomate, example is jugetia. तीनों के उदाहरण यहाँ पे दिए हुए हैं. आप बहुत आसानी से देख सकते हैं कि जो केंचुआ है उसके अंदर वास्तविक देह गुहा है, एस्केरिस के अंदर कूट देह गुहा है, और प्लेनेरिया या फ्लैटवर्म चपटे कृमि के अंदर देह गुहा पूर्ण रूप से अनुपस्थित है. Now this is the development of two type of coelom. In the case of eucoelomate, one the Schizocoelous and second one the Enterocoelous. In the case of Schizocoelous, the condition of embryonic development in which the body cavity is formed by the splitting of mesoderm, while in the case of Enterocoelous, there is presence of two pouches pinched off the digestive tract. In the case of Schizocoelous, the coelom begins as split within the solid mesodermal mass, while in the case of Enterocoelous, the mesoderm arises as the lateral outpockets of the archenteron with hollows that become coelomic cavity. In Schizocoelous, the cleavage is holoblastic, spiral or determinate. In the case of Enterocoelous, it is radial or indeterminate, मतलब अरीय व अनिर्धारी. It is generally present in protostomes, and while the Enterocoelous is present in most deuterostomes. Examples are given for Schizocoelous, annelids, mollusks and arthropod, and for Enterocoelous, the echinoderms, hemichordates and chordates. So this finishes my lecture on coelom. The coelom is the main basis of classification of animal kingdom into three groups: the Acoelomata, Pseudocoelomata and Coelomata. Thank you.